Hello and welcome back to the channel. Before we get into the video, I would like to take this opportunity to thank my channel members for their ongoing support. If you would like your name to appear on screen, then you can click on the membership link that will be in the description down below. I have two tiers, one for shout outs and a second tier where you will get weekly members only content. This content will be catch-up live streams, members-only reactions, or sometimes I will do a pre-recorded, chatty get ready with me video where I update you on life stuffs. There is also, of course, the custom emojis and the cute animal badges next to your name. Of course, you just watching this video is already much appreciated, but if you wish to support the channel further, you can do so by subscribing, commenting, liking, sending super thanks, and of course, joining the membership. And now, let's get into the video. Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to the channel. My name is Ilona. I'm also known as Chikara Transformations. I'm an online health and fitness coach and I'm also a bodybuilder. If you're curious to see what my journey to this stage is like, then check that out. I upload 2 vlogs a week, normally speaking. And if you're interested in one-to-one coaching or by purchasing an 8-week plan from me at any point, then email me as well on the email that is in the description and I'll get you out some more information. Today we're going to be looking at some Jordan Allen Hall. He was in hospital. So I figured we'll start off with the hospital post on Instagram and then we'll look at some TikToks, but these are all the TikToks because he uploads a lot. So what he's saying is, to answer a question on slide 2, it's not just you. I have gotten a lot bigger. Last week I was diagnosed with stage 4 lipedema with severe and progressive lymphedema. On principle, I have avoided sharing personal medical information on social media, given how these details are so quickly weaponized and used against us as fat disabled people. Disabled is questionable, but fair enough, both individually and as a community. That being said, there is so little awareness about lipedema, particularly in the United States. And the vastly majority of researchers that are available are rife with fat phobia and gendered language. Because of this, it feels important for me to share my experiences. Okay, so I had a quick research into what causes lipedema. And lipedema, from the couple of sources, I spent 10 minutes doing this. So it's not like I'm an expert or anything. But from what I understand, lipedema predominantly affects females, as in biological women. And I don't know if that's what he means about like gendered language, but it's something that pretty much only affects biological women. And also they don't actually know what causes it. It isn't necessarily to do with obesity, although most obese people do get lipedema, but they reckon it's to do with the hormones. So I'm guessing if when you're obese, you do create hormonal imbalances in the body, which could cause potentially lipedema, but obviously diet and lifestyle can help manage it. It never goes away either. If you want to get rid of lipedema, you have to basically surgically remove it. It is one of those things that it does affect all sized people, but it does predominantly affect females, biological women, and it does. It happens here. It's saying here what causes lipedema? The cause of lipedema is not well understood. Is reported to start or worsen during puberty and around periods of hormonal changes such as pregnancy and menopause. Research is underway to determine the biological roles of hormones, genetics, inflammation, metabolism, and the condition's development. So obviously it's something to do with female hormones. And when you're obese, your hormones are not in very good shape. So, but anyway, let's start off with this stitch here and go from there.
The glorification of obesity within advertisements is not just a normalization.
The majority of those advertisements you picked out showed fat people exercising, which based on your video is the exact thing you want fat people to do, correct? If you're going to claim that these advertisements are promoting a certain body type,
I'm a bit in two ways about this whole obese people. Like, obviously obese people, like they should have nice clothes. They should have nice fitness clothes in particular, because how are you going to get fit otherwise? But also for them to be on the face of like ad campaigns, I think it's kind of weird, because the whole point of like fitness clothes is that you kind of have to be fit. you could be working towards that goal, but if you're not there yet, I don't know if you being part of that ad campaign makes sense. But then at the same time, I can understand, especially with fitness clothes, because I'm with her on this, I'm with him on this, that it is important that if you want to start exercising as an obese person, that, you should want to feel cute. Why not? Like, I want to wear cute gym clothes, so why should they not?
Which, to be clear, they're not. You also have to acknowledge that they're promoting the behavior being displayed in the ad, specifically by the people who have the body type being represented. Until we destigmatize the shame that fat people have in fitness spaces, the way that fat people are shamed in fitness spaces, fat people will never feel comfortable exercising or in fitness spaces.
I kind of agree with her on this. Like, I would never frown at obese people in the gym. Like, I think good for you if you're there. You've got to start somewhere at the end of the day. So yeah, if you want to, I understand if you want to, in general, buy nice clothes, then yeah. I just don't know about the whole having them as the face of an ad campaign. I don't know about that. Because, that's kind of like being a fine dining restaurant and then putting a McDonald's on your ad. Do you know what I mean? It's like, if you're trying to sell fitness clothing, for promoting it, you should put fitness people in it, or fit people in it. But I also understand that it needs to appeal to the wider masses, because most people are not super fit, so...
So, based on your whole shtick, you should be the biggest advocate for these types of ads. And for, the expansion of sizes offered in activewear.
The glor...
That's not at all what I said, but while I have you here, binge eating disorder is a mental illness. And what are mental illnesses? Disabilities.
Are mental illnesses disabilities? I guess it depends. To the extent and the severity of it. Binge eating is not the same thing as paranoid schizophrenia, or I don't know, other more perhaps detrimental and dangerous disorders, mental health, personality. I don't know if I agree with that. I don't know if all mental health problems are disabilities. Because in that case, everybody in the fucking world is disabled at some point, in terms of, mental health. Because everybody at some point has, anxiety or depression, or most people have, so... Disabled people can at least walk. This is a dumb comment, because... when I think about disabled people, I think about people that are wheelchair bound and stuff. And I know that obviously disability comes in many different ways, but this isn't a dumb comment.
We've seen a very significant pitting against each other on two sides of this issue, where the media has really made it fat people versus diabetics when it comes to these medications. And the reality is that these two groups are incredibly overlapped, right?
Unfortunately, she is right, because a lot of people that are diabetic in this day and age are not type 1 but type 2, and type 2 is basically caused by diet and also obesity a lot of the times. So a lot of people that probably do need to use Ozempic are obese, but they probably do suffer also from diabetes. My thoughts on it, it's I think anything, if you can make something work for you and it's going to help you suppress your hunger a little bit, and it's medically approved, then I'm for it. If you find that a weight loss surgery is needed, I'm also for it. I think it is whatever. However, I do think if there is a limited amount of drugs available, which I believe is the case with Ozempic, I do believe that the people that actually need it for diabetes, they should get priority over people that are trying to lose weight. Because you can lose weight on your own. If you're a diabetic, you kind of can't regulate your insulin on your own. So from that perspective, I do think that people with diabetes should have priority. But if there's enough to go around, then I'll give it to both people.
What it really is all of us, diabetic or not, against these drug manufacturers, who are just like charging people up the butt for life-saving medication and have the capacity to produce it so that there is enough for everyone who needs it, for everyone who is prescribed it, and they choose not to.
I think there's a limited source. I think the drug is limited, so they kind of have to pick and choose who they give it to, from what I understand. But I haven't looked that much into it, so I don't know.
And that's a bad
You choose to eat food.
thing. Choosing to eat food, the bad thing.
I think it's more the food she chooses to eat and the quantities of it. Like, obviously, we all have to eat. This is probably in regards to obesity being a disability and stuff like that. I don't advocate starving. I had a live stream the other day and a girl was saying how she only eats like 700 calories a day because otherwise she gets fat, and I'm like, that's not healthy either. Eat food for sure, but it's the food he chooses to eat that is the problem, and the quantities of it, obviously, to maintain the enormous mass that he has, that's the issue.
You know, shockingly, fat people still need to eat. Slow loss of protein during complete starvation may, in severely obese persons, lead to a cumulative protein loss that leads to sudden death before the fat reserves are depleted.
Okay, but what is considered starvation, though? Okay, so she's got a study here. Let me read it. Starvation has been successfully used to treat severe human obesity, but may be dangerous due to excessive loss of body protein. Obese humans, when starving, use fat and spare proteins as effectively as those animals that spontaneously undergo prolonged fasting after accumulating a large fat reserves. Nevertheless, slow loss of protein during complete starvation may suddenly lead to cumulative protein loss that can lead to sudden death. So yeah, obviously you can't completely starve, but what is considered starvation now? It says, okay, why protein loss is critical. Protein molecules serve non-fuel functions as enzymes or as contractile structural proteins. The thing is though, I don't want to hear him talk about proteins or any obese person talk about proteins and like all of that, because none of them fucking eat protein. You look at any of these people's full days of eating and they barely scratch 50 grams of protein. I eat that in 2 meals. So, you know, like, yeah, obviously it's an issue, but I would imagine that they have a severe lack of protein in their body already as it is, because they just don't eat. Like, whenever I watch obese people's full days of eating, there never is any protein. I mean, there is, but not enough. Death is associated with lack of food. Occurs within 30 to 50% of the proteins are depleted. Obviously, the ideal situation for an obese dieter will be an ability to use only fat and therefore totally spare body protein. However, although there is an important reduction in protein utilization, as the human body adapts to the long fast, some protein utilization persists, expressed as nitrogen loss in the urine, mostly as urea and ammonia. I mean, it doesn't really say, but being in a starved state, like, technically I'm in a starved state right now with my prep, even though I'm eating on my training days. I eat a lot. I eat like, I don't know, 2,500 calories, but I'm still like, I'm getting like, literally, I am extremely low. This is how low I'm getting in body fat. I have this is not healthy. I'm getting to the point that it's like that on my legs, even on my glutes. I can you know, I can pinch skin. This means that I am very low in body fat, which means that technically my body is in a starved state. So starving doesn't necessarily mean not eating. It just means being in a deficit and getting your body low in body fat. So I'm guessing, basically, as long as you are an obese person, you can diet. You just have to definitely make sure that you keep your protein up. It just shows that it's important. Not that you're not going to die. I mean, like, not that you're just going to die if you don't eat protein, but it just shows the importance of having protein there. So,
Comments like these are just death threats you can get away with saying on this platform without getting banned. You know, shockingly, do you really
mean, calling it a death threat is a bit extreme, isn't it? Come on now.
Say this was not a good faith question, but I'm going to answer anyway in case any fat people have been not going to things that they want to go see because they're afraid that they won't fit in the seats at the venues that are holding these events that they want to go to. Under the ADA, venues like theaters, stadiums, anything where there's like fixed seating, they're required to have both wheelchair seats, in which it's just like an empty space that a wheelchair would be in, wheelchair companion seats, and wheelchair transfer seats. If you do not fit in the fixed seating that a venue has, you should be calling the box office.
That is kind of outrageous. So, no offense, but your fat ass is basically gonna take up a wheelchair seat for somebody that is actually disabled, potentially by something that they can't control and that hasn't been caused by them, just so you can go and watch something. So there's very limited spaces for actually disabled people, but you want to take up those few spaces because you want to go to an event because your fat ass doesn't fit into a seat. That is inappropriate and very entitled. Come on now.
And buying the wheelchair transfer seat, because those are seats in which the arm of the chair goes up. Then most venues will also have just like...
So basically then, if you're sat next to somebody who is in a wheelchair, you're spilling over into their space, just like on an airplane. But that's not right. Why not get a standing space? Because you can't stand for the duration. But then, whose problem is that though? This is really outrageous. Like, I think this is actually really outrageous that you would take the seats, you would take space away from other people that actually need it, where they literally have limited spaces because you can't fit into a normal seat. That's not cool.
Free seating that they can put into the wheelchair spot, and that will take the place of the seat. Last night we had a mix-up and we booked a wheelchair seat instead of a transfer seat, which meant that they had to put a seat into the space that I was sitting, but it was fine, and the house manager was really kind about it and just did it very quickly, and it was not a big deal. And before I get any comments about like taking things away from like actual disabled people, yes, I have never seen all of these.
Not to mention how many disabled people are fat and how many... That doesn't matter. That's not the point though. Like, that's like getting into semantic, isn't it? I've never seen all of these seats being sold out, but that's not the point though. Like, the point is that you're complaining about limited spaces, and then there is limited spaces for people that have real disabilities, and then you're taking that away from them so that they have even less spaces. Come on now.
Seats sold out, personally, at like any event that I have been to. And accessibility is for everyone, not just people in wheelchairs. And so I think...
So basically you're saying that your needs are more important than those that are in wheelchairs, that can't help being in wheelchairs.
It's important for us to remember that fat people are just as deserving to see theater and sports and comedy and all these things as anyone else. And just because we don't have named protections under the law...
This is very entitled, sorry.
My best advice is to track your symptoms on your own. Keep something in your notes app, either that or get like a health tracker app. Really keep tabs on your own symptoms, especially... False assumptions in this comment.
You ate your way to 600 pounds like you didn't keep eating and didn't stop the fuck. Humans were not meant to be your size.
Aside, how can you say that humans were not meant to be my size when we do exist today and have always existed?
No, this is not true. People his size have not always existed. Back in those days, when people were his size, they were freak shows, and then still they weren't even this big. So now, the size of the obesity the level of obesity that she is, definitely have not always existed. This is a complete falsehood, because medically it has not been possible. First of all, I think, until now, and I don't think people had the resources or the money to get that big back in the day.
What are you using to determine what body size is natural and which is not?
It is not natural, because if it is natural, we would have seen it throughout history, and we don't. What was obese back in the freak show days? I mean, this is back in the freak show days. This is what big people were. This is not... this is not how big he is. these people are big, yeah, but they're not. He is a lot bigger. I mean, I guess this is kind of getting there, to be honest. But do you know what I mean? 550 pounds. They have existed, but they were such an anomaly. They literally were in freak shows. And I'm not saying here that freak shows are a good or a bad thing at all. I'm just saying that it wasn't normal back in the day. So no, I don't know why you're trying to say that they've always existed. They have, but very few. And it was absolutely not normal.
Are we using P.T. Barnum as a metric for how we should view and treat folks in non-normative bodies? Are we using P.T.
Humans haven't always been your size. Anyone over 250 pounds would have been in a freak show 100 years ago. Plus, there's no biological advantage to being obese. This is true. This is exactly what I was saying.
Also, I don't know. Also,
This is a really good example of what
I mean, insults aside, he's right. If you have such excess mass, you would have been a nuisance to society, because you would not contribute anything.
I mean when I say that your fat phobia is often rooted in ableism. If you believe that someone has to be a certain size or have a certain amount of ability to be a contributing member of society,
This is logical. This is literally just based in the sheer fact that when you're as big as she is, you do not have the energy, especially back in the olden days. You did not have the privilege to sit on your phone and talk and get paid for it. It didn't work like that. You had to be out in the fucking field. You had to do manual labor. You had to work for your money unless you were rich and privileged, which you probably wouldn't have been, because very few people were. The disparity between wealth and the wealthy and the poor was a lot greater back in those days. So yeah, you are not able to contribute as well because of the sheer fact that you are sick more often. When you get sick, it's more serious. You don't have as much energy. Mentally, the cognition is not going to be quite the same, just from the amount of food that you're eating and the fact that you're the type of food that you're eating, because like it does affect your mental clarity, your energy levels, your hormones, everything. So yeah, no, you are not going to be as productive as somebody that is a healthy body weight, that has just a normal, balanced, healthy whole foods diet. And I don't mean that you have to only eat chicken breast. I mean, you can eat pizza and stuff sometimes. I just mean somebody that is fit and active, that eats healthy food for the most part and enjoys unhealthy things or calorically dense things in moderation. That's just science. Like, there's nothing to argue about that. This is, anybody that loses weight will attest to this, that since they lose weight, they have more energy, they have more mental clarity, they are able to perform a lot more tasks. He probably can't even tie his shoes properly. So, like, how else are you going to contribute to society? Back in those days, you weren't able to do the things that we can do now. There wasn't the liberties of the transport, like having the internet, etc. So how would you go for job interviews? How would you get to your job? Working from home? That wasn't a thing 50 years ago, 100 years ago. Come on now, let's be realistic.
that is both fatphobic and ableist. In this comment, it is fatphobic rooted in ableism. Because really what you're saying is that you have to be able-bodied in order to contribute to society. And if you can't contribute to society...
Within reason, yeah, this is why back... Like, a lot of people I think they don't know this, but, you know, when we had... when it was... I'm pretty sure during communist times in Western Europe... Eastern Europe, sorry. If you were not able-bodied, I'm pretty sure you got shipped off to the gulags. If you couldn't contribute, then... off you go, or at birth, off you go. I'm pretty sure that happened. I could maybe that's propaganda. I'm not so sure, but I'm pretty sure that in communist societies, everybody has to contribute, and if you can't contribute, then there is no place for you, pretty much.
In an able body, that is a nuisance, and that is damaging to a well-functioning society.
A minute ago,
This would be a really great example if kids didn't smoke and get tattoos every day in this country. These regulations you're talking about don't prevent kids from engaging in these behaviors. What they do is prevent them from engaging in them safely. as HRT for kids is being outlawed, as medical transition is being outlawed, as puberty blockers are being outlawed, what we're going to see is an increase in...
Oh, this is a topic that is... I think if you want to transition, you do you, but I do believe that you should be of a certain age before you do that, because these changes are they are for a lifetime. And you know, when you're 12 years old or 6 years old, you don't know what you want to do. When I was 6 years old, I wanted to become a princess. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think that if you want to transition, then sure, but we have to bear in mind that kids are kids, and kids have phases. I was a tomboy. I didn't always play with Barbies. I'm quite masculine in some things, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I want to be male. I like being a woman. So I think putting kids on medication to potentially that can impact them in terms of their development with hormones from a young age. I think that's unsafe. I think wait until you sort of hit puberty or have gone through puberty and then reassess to see if you still feel the same way. Because as a kid, isn't it, they change their mind. One thing they like one thing, the next thing they like another thing. So, but yeah, let's not get into that discussion. I prefer not to talk about politics on my channel because it's not really relevant.
What did you just ask me?
I was just wondering if this was creepy.
Oh yeah, this photo? Not creepy at all. No, not even a little bit.
He looked even bigger than he does in the videos. Anyway, I'm gonna go, guys, because my camera's about to die. I do hope that one day he snaps out of this illusion that he's putting himself in, that being obese is not an issue and it doesn't cause him health problems, because clearly it does. On that note, I do hope he recovers. But, you know, at some point you do have to take responsibility and accountability and not just pretend that everything is propaganda. And people being biased or people having opinions that you don't like and being ableist. Hey, Roser. So, yeah. But thank you very much for watching. Insert what emoji shall they use today? Insert a coffee emoji. And insert a black heart, a coffee and a black heart emoji. Thank you so much for watching. Comment, like, subscribe, dislike the video if you disliked it. Let me know down below why. And I will see you in the next video. Bye, guys.